Hi, this is Catherine. This is Taking Tea with Catherine. This is a Victorian chai blend. I don't know why they call it Victorian. I guess they added roses. Anyway, it's from a company that I have not ordered from in a very long time. So it's kind of an old tea. Spice and tea, I think it's called. Anyway, so I thought I'd finish it finally. But I also thought, it's a nice tea as it is, but I also thought it'd be fitting because I'm doing a haul today and a lot of the books are Victorian books, Victorian novels. So I thought, fitting. Yes, so this is a haul, and yes, and it's mostly novels because somehow I cannot stop buying novels. Um, this I call it my spring haul, but there might be more throughout the season. I don't know. I'm trying to hold back a little bit, but when my sister visited, I did most of this purchasing because we went to a couple places, but most of the books are from Bookseller, which is a really nice lower level bookshop, used bookshop that is very reasonably priced. You have to bring cash, just FYI. They don't take cards of any kind, so make sure you stop at an ATM or something on your way in. Not that you'll need that much cash because it's pretty reasonable, but and they have cute tote bags. They're yellow with a little cat on it because books and cats. But so that's where I got most of these books. So let's just start. Some of these books I also ordered. I will mention that when it comes. The first two books that I'm going to talk about are from Book Off, and when I went there with my sister, it was mildly disappointing, and it has been recently. I'm not saying it's been terrible, but it hasn't been like as, oh my goodness, finding stacks of books for $1 each. Both of the books are $5.50, which I am even then I'm like, oh, was that worth it? But then these are two books that I wanted, so I think it's okay. And but it just, yeah, I don't hoard. There you go. I don't haul as much as I used to from Book Off because I feel like they're running out of good $1 books, and that's fine. I don't need them. But the ones I got, one was part of my, search, my obsession with getting the British Library crime classics. I don't need to have maybe every single one in the collection, but I certainly don't mind having quite a few. And this one is Quick Curtain by Alan Melville. The sticker covers the description in the back, but somebody in a cast of in a play or theater is found dead, and this Inspector Wilson of Scotland Yard does some investigating with his son, who is a journalist. So it says that this is a witty, satirical novel from the golden age of British crime fiction between the world wars. So that kind of sounds fun. I like a little bit of satire as long as it's not over the top. So, and I always like things that take place in theater. My first Broadway play that I ever saw, musical, was Phantom of the Opera. It's a little bit up my alley, even if it's a little corny. And then, of course, I've been trying to read more P.G. Wodehouse, and I used to read a lot of them in the past, and I have a couple of books here somewhere, but I want to get into it again. And so when I found this one, I thought, okay, this looks like a nice, fun, cheery book. This is Jeeves and the Feudal Spirit. So this is Jeeves and Worcester, which are probably the most well-known of the author's characters. So yeah, I think it might be, I don't know if this is the one I'll get back into first, but I do want to start, and this is more motivation for me. So let's get into the Bookseller books, which have fallen over a little bit. I mentioned recently, because I was rereading David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, and I had realized I didn't have a good copy of it. I had one of these omnibus, 3-in-1, hard to hold up and very small type that wasn't going to be good for me to reread, especially for such a long book. And so I said, well, if I find a copy, a reasonably priced copy of that, I will get that. So I did. I don't have it with me right now, but I do have another book from the same publishers as Signet Classics, which are one of those budget classic paperback companies, but they're pretty good. As far as, they're easy to hold. They're, not probably the best editions ever, but they're good. So I thought one of the books I would like to reread, well, a couple of the books I would like to reread are some of the early George Eliot books. When I say early George Eliot books, I don't mean that she wrote them early. that I read them early on. And this is one of them, probably the one I liked the most of that time period. And then later on, I read Middlemarch and Daniel Deronda, and those kind of took over for me. But The Mill and the Floss, I remember liking it. I remember not much else about it, except that there is a mill on a floss. So at some point, I will reread this. I know it has to do with siblings. I pretty much think I know what happens at the ending, and I hope I'm wrong. But either way, spoiler alert, I'm still looking forward to it. There is, I know I mentioned earlier this year, because I've been rereading Jasper Fford's Thursday Next series, which is a whole literary kind of fantasy / almost mystery, but not quite, adventure, almost comic series. And they have all kinds of literary punny characters, and there is one named Millen de Floss. And so I remember laughing about that back then, but I want to maybe remember what the book is about before I come across this character in the series again, which will be soon, hopefully. Hopefully. Okay, and then I found another British Library crime classic. This one was a no-brainer, as I call it, because it's a very London-looking one, and I love all the ones that take place in London, although I like all of them. But this is Murder in Piccadilly by Charles Kingston. So that is obviously Piccadilly Circus. Well, I say obviously, but if you've been there or if you've seen touristy pictures, you will know. This is also, well, another murder. I don't really know much about it, but it's another inspector from Scotland Yard investigating a murder. So similar to, where'd it go? Anyway, similar to the other one. And you know what? I will let you know more about it as I actually read it. Right? So I picked up a good amount of mysteries, and I hope I kept them in order. Not quite, so let me just move these around a little bit. Yes, I went out of order. I went from Victorian classic to the mysteries, and I'm going to go back to Victorian classics because I make no sense. But that's basically how I read too. So this is a short book, but I've never read any Hamish Macbeth books by M.C. Beaton. And so I saw this one, and it was, very cheap, and it's a short book, and I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll be in the mood for it someday. And I love the title, so Death of a Snob. I don't know, that just sounds funny. I want to read the description, but it sounds very Scottishy, and I don't want to sound like I'm putting on a Scottish accent, so I'm not going to. But okay, someone named Heather dies. So a snob named Heather. So anyone who grew up in my generation might get a kick out of that. So now, moving on, another series that I have just started very recently, and I mean just the beginning of it. I've been reading the Molly Murphy mysteries by Rhys Bowen and really enjoying them. So I thought, okay, I've heard good things about her Royal Spinous series, and I have it out from the library. So like I said, I just started it, and so I thought, okay, I found this one. I think it's the second book of the series. So I thought, well, I'm not going too far in getting this one, and again, it was very cheap. So this is called A Royal Pain, a Royal Spinous mystery. I like the title. So I love her titles, actually. They're kind of corny, but I like them. So we'll see. And now this one is, I think, the first one in a series that I know nothing about, but I like the idea of it. This is Murder Your Darlings by J.J. Murphy, and it is a Dorothy Parker mystery. So, or actually they call it an Algonquin Roundtable mystery. Dorothy Parker is someone I've been trying to read a little more of and about. I like the idea of the whole Algonquin Roundtable, all these writers in New York that got together and, I don't know, talked, Sounds almost like book 2, but not quite. So it says, on this particular morning, legendary wit Dorothy Parker is not the one under Manhattan's famed Algonquin Round Table. Someone else is, and he's not dead drunk, just dead. When a charming, aspiring writer from Mississippi named Billy Faulkner becomes a suspect in the murder, Dorothy decides to dabble in a little detective work, enlisting the help of table mates Robert Benchley, Alexander Wolcott, Robert Sherwood, and other famous and fabulous literary cohorts. With a marvelous Manhattan mystery on their hands, it's up to the Algonquins to outwit the true culprit, preferably before cocktail hour and before the clever killer turns the tables on them. So, I don't know. It's a first in a series, and it's got a blurb from Rhys Bowen, so that's kind of nice. And it takes place in Manhattan. I enjoy that. I actually have passed by the Algonquin very often because it's not extremely far. It's actually pretty close to Book Off. So, if that makes any sense to anybody. So now we're gonna rewind again and get back to a little past times. The first one I'm going to show you, though, is not a Victorian novel. It is a 1920s novel, which is good too. This is another Catherine collecting thing. So I love the Virago modern classics, but particularly I like the ones that are the green, the older green ones, because so far any of the Virago that I read I enjoyed, and I do like the way they look. Green is one of my very favorite colors, so I like them all together over there. Although I'm kind of running out of space for them. But you know what? We'll work on it. But this is going to be the next one in my collection by G.B. Stern, The Matriarch. Look at her. She is the matriarch, I guess. Well, the painting is Supper by Mark Gertler. So this is about the Rakonitz family. Trying to see where it takes place. Well, it's a little bit all over Europe. So the rich, cosmopolitan, and Jewish, and the indomitable women within it. Okay, so it takes place in the Victorian era. In the 1880s, Babette marries Simon Rakonitz, moves with him from Pressburg to Vienna to Paris, and becomes the mother of 10 children. On her death, her granddaughter Anastasia, I don't know, brilliant, tireless, despotic, settles in West Kensington, that sounds like London, and takes up the reins of power as the family wealth accumulates through dealings in precious stones. Okay, so this is going to be, I guess, like a family story, and this is the first one of the, is it the Rakonitz or Rakonitz? Rakonitz Chronicles? I don't know, but that sounds kind of cool. I've never heard of it before. Sounds a little bit almost like it could count as, well, not Victorian, but, well, as historical fiction. So I might give it a shot sometime, right? Well, I better, because I have it now. Now, Elizabeth Gaskell. Not easy to find Elizabeth Gaskell's works beyond North and South, sometimes Cranford, Wives and Daughters. After that, whenever I find anything of hers, if I can help it, I will take it. Because, like, if it's not $100, you know, because she is so hard to find in bookshops in New York. I don't know why. So I think my sister actually saw this one first, and it has an old Barnes & Noble, I think B&N, sticker on it from who knows when. And then another one in the back, but from Academy Chicago. So this one got around. But this is a pocket classics, Mrs. Gaskell, The Manchester Marriage. So this is The Manchester Marriage and I guess other stories. Not that big on short stories, but I will probably make an exception for Elizabeth Gaskell because, well, one of the reasons is because I watched the adaptations of the Cranford book, and there's two of them, and they mixed in other stories. And I was a little lost because I didn't remember that from when I read the book. So I want to be familiar with these other stories. And so I see a couple other stories, some of which sound good and some of them don't, but I'll find out when I read them. And then here's one that I've been looking for, a nice, readable, good copy. And I found this for $3, which is not bad. It's part of a set, and I'm pretty sure I saw this whole set, or at least most of it, when I was a couple of years ago passing by Argosy, which is a great bookshop, but I don't know, their outside, you know, discount area has not been that great in my recent visits. So, and they had the whole Charles Dickens collection. I said, well, I don't need all of them. But I've been looking for Little Dorrit for a while, because I haven't read Little Dorrit. I've seen the adaptation with Claire Foy, etc., and quite a few people are in there. And I thought, well, if I find a decent copy, I'm going to get it, and here it is. Yay! And I do like, it's a little chunky, like it's a little weighty, I guess you would say, but it's not a bad heft, and the writing isn't too small. I could deal with it. So when I get to reading Little Dorrit, there you go. Now, I already have a copy of, well, every book by Jane Austen. So I really didn't need this one, but I really liked the copy, and it was a good price. And they had other ones too, but I got just this one because I'm not going to collect everything. This is a book I'm really intending to read again this year, so I don't need to make excuses. I love Jane Austen. This is Sense and Sensibility by herself. Look at this cover. I mean, I've seen it before, but I've not seen it discounted, so I was very happy about that. Look at the... And so I thought, this is a Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. Ugh, my nails look terrible today. Sorry about that. And Sense and Sensibility is up there in one of my favorites, not my very favorite of the Jane Austen novels, although I will say probably of the adaptations, it's one of my very favorites, the one from 95. That and the Pride and Prejudice from 95 are probably my two favorites. If I ever do a ranking, there is a preview. I'm not big on pink, but I kind of like this one. I want to go to Peggy Portion in London, which is so pink outside, and I want to get a cake and a cup of tea and have this and read this book, but it is not to be right now. And look at the back. Look at this. Look at that. Yes. So it's got the French flaps and deckled edges, and some people don't like deckled edges, but I don't mind. Look, she's even got her nails colored, which I need to do soon. Oh, it's in the front as well. Anyway, which doesn't really make sense because I don't think Jane Austen ever had nail polish, but whatever. Okay, so that was it for Bookseller, but I thought that was a pretty good visit. It's got two of my favorite things, mystery novels and Victorian novels and thereabouts. Didn't get any nonfiction though, but that's okay. That's okay. Can't get everything. So here are some miscellaneous. When I was with my sister and my other sister, and we went to Astoria Park, there was a little free library. And my sister and I both looked in it, and I found this one, and I was so happy because I do love my Agatha Christie. I did not have a copy of this one, and this is, as Bonnie would say, pristine. Like it is really in great condition. So this is a Poirot. This is 1-2 Buckle My Shoe. I know who did it already because I did see the adaptation very recently, David Suchet. But I don't mind. And yes, there is a dentist involved, and there is a shoe buckle involved. But I'm looking forward to reading this. I do love Poirot very much. So one of my next Agatha Christie's to look forward to. And it cost me nothing. I just had to go to this little free library. So now I feel inclined to maybe bring a few books to one, pay it forward, which I haven't done much of recently. So another book I'd seen on, I think I saw it on Lil's Vintage World. She got this, and I was watching it actually with my sister because she likes that channel as well. We watched a number of BookTube channels videos during her visit together, which was fun. And she mentioned a British Library crime classic. This is the 100th one, which I can't believe, 100. And the title just sounds amazing, and I don't know much about it, but that's okay because look at the cover. Death of a Bookseller by Bernard J. Farmer. Not that I want booksellers to die, but just that it's going to be a little bit bookish. So this is Sergeant Wiggin. Is it they all start, all these other things are Inspector something with a W. Let's see. When Sergeant Wiggin stops to escort a swaying reveler home at the end of his late shift, he has spun a tale of the ups and downs of a life spent collecting and selling rare books. His new companion, Michael Fisk, has been celebrating the acquisition of a signed copy of Keats and Endymion. Woo! And a trip, I'm getting way too excited. Dial it down. And a trip into Fisk's library is enough to convince Wiggin to begin his own collection. Oh, so bookish. After developing a love for antiquarian books and a friendship with Fisk, Wiggin is called upon by the CID when tragedy strikes and Fisk is found murdered in his library. Suspecting another book collector, seller, or agent of murdering his friend and stealing a precious volume, Wiggin dives into the antiquarian book trade where pleasantries and a kind of collector's code mask simmering jealousies and ruthless desires. It's true, actually. This adventurous bibliomystery, which has remained a rarity itself since its first publication in 1956, combines exuberant characters with a puzzling case and a wry depiction of the secondhand book market to delight book lovers and classic crime enthusiasts alike. I mean, it's the full package, and it's beautiful. And somebody seems to agree. So we'll move on from that one because I got way too excited, and I feel like that is just compounding my excitement and yet annoyance. So last but not least, I'm always getting books that have to do with Jane Austen. I found this online, and I've heard of it before, but I got a really decent price. And of course, I get a library copy, which doesn't bother me, except for the fact that the description did not mention it this time. And but it is a library of a near Chicago, so you know, I feel like it's in theme with my sister. But anyway, it has nothing to do with the actual book. It's Jane on the Brain, Exploring the Science of Social Intelligence with Jane Austen by Wendy Jones. Now, this could be an amazing Jane Austen related book, or it could be one of those, okay, someone else cashing in on Jane Austen. I will find out, maybe this year, because Jane Austen July is coming up. And I get very excited about that. And my cat, Jane Austen, happened to be, you can't see her, but she happens to be suddenly paying attention and staring at me. That is very weird. Whenever I talk about Jane Austen, she gets excited. I guess because I'm kind of saying her name. Anyway, so yeah, I did have like a sticker I took off that's still kind of over here, and some of which I can't remove, but I think I'm just going to deal with it. So I do like, psychology and how the mind works, stuff like that. I want to read more psychology books, maybe not overwhelmingly too many, because sometimes it could be a bit of a rabbit hole. Which reminds me, I have a book called something Rabbit Hole. It has to do with the mind or brain surgery or something. Anyway, that is another tangent for another time. I hope you liked this haul. I hope you've enjoyed seeing all these books. Let me know if you've read any of them, if you have any recommendations for which one to start with, because I don't mind. And let me know if you've picked up any books recently, and any, whether it's online or through a bookshop or a little free library. I always love hearing about your acquisitions as well. So until next time. Also, of course, if you like talking about books and hauling and spring and all of the above and all the subjects I talk about today, always please subscribe. So this is Catherine at Taking Tea with Catherine. Have a lovely tea and bookville day.